You imagine the universe as a single complete object, all of existence contained within one sky, one horizon, one direction of time, everything accounted for, everything visible, everything familiar. You assume that absence is the same as impossibility, that what you cannot observe does not exist. That reality ends at the limits of your perception. This is a habit, not a conclusion. You are taught to trust accumulation, more data, more observation. As if by exhaustively counting what is present, you will eventually encounter all that exists. But completeness is not something that can be observed. It is a structural property, not an empirical one. It is not confirmed by measurement. It is imposed by reasoning or assumed by convenience. You confuse the known with the total. You treat what has appeared as evidence of exclusivity. You mistake your subset for the whole. Imagine holding a cup of water and assuming it contains the entire ocean. The logic is the same. Your experience of presence cannot define absence elsewhere. You live inside a slice of what is permitted and call it the universe. You see one history, one configuration, one manifestation of matter and space. You call it singular. Singularity is not guaranteed. It is only convenient. It is only familiar. Consider how easily your assumptions collapse. You take the word everything to mean all that exists, but it only means all that has been observed. What has not appeared is not evidence of non-existence. It is evidence of only that it has not interacted with you. The universe may contain structures you cannot perceive, regions that your instruments cannot reach, forms of matter or antimatter that are logically required but unseen. You assume visibility equals existence. That presence is the same as permission. That observation defines reality. But nothing in physics obliges the universe to reveal itself completely. Nothing in logic dictates that the laws of nature must manifest all their consequences within your perception. The universe is not polite. It does not answer to intuition. You trust that what you see is the totality, but it is only a projection, a fragment, a slice permitted to interact with you. And when the rest is considered, what may exist beyond your perception, the confidence that the universe is singular begins to crumble. It is fragile, incomplete, not in error, but in scope. You are left with the unsettling possibility that what you call reality is provisional, not because it is wrong, but because it is only part of what the laws allow. The universe you know is one realization among many that could exist, and your experience does not privilege it. It only occupies it. The assumption of a single, self-contained universe is inherited. It persists because no one has forced its limits. Because observation has not yet collided with necessity. When you begin to consider what else is allowed, what else is permitted, you realize that the boundary of existence is not defined by what is present, but by what the structure of laws does not forbid. This is the first fracture. The universe is not singular. It is a region, a permitted sector, a slice of a larger logical possibility, and your perception has no authority over the rest. Completion is not guaranteed. It is an illusion. And the realization of that fragility is the first step in seeing the universe not as everything, but as one of many permitted possibilities. You trust equations because they appear controlled. Symbols neatly arranged on a page, lines that seem abstract, detached, inert. You believe they describe reality, that they are mirrors of what exists, that they wait for observation to give them meaning. This is a misconception. Equations do not wait. They do not summarize what is already present. They constrain what is possible. They demand internal consistency. They impose limitations that reality must obey. You imagine mathematics as a language invented to organize the world, convenient, human-made, optional. But when consistency is absolute, invention is no longer optional. The structure dictates outcomes. It does not suggest, it enforces. In the early 20th century, the attempt to unite quantum mechanics with relativity exposed this truth. The laws disagreed. Their conflict was not messy. It was strict. It demanded resolution. Resolution could not depend on what was observed. Observation was partial, subjective, and historically biased. The laws had no obligation to defer to it. So the solution emerged first in mathematics, before experience confirmed it, not because someone dreamed it, but because consistency permitted no alternative. Some solutions were familiar. They corresponded to matter already known. Others were alien. They obeyed the same rules, but were not visible. They were equally real. They were required. You assume that existence is discovered experimentally, that equations merely summarize the world. But in this case, the laws of physics did not describe what existed. They insisted on what must exist. To ignore these unfamiliar solutions is to violate logic. To discard them is to contradict the very structure that governs reality. Yet observation provides no guidance. It can neither approve nor deny them. The equations demanded their own completeness. They would not accept partial solutions. They would not negotiate. They could not accommodate preference. The laws do not care about familiarity. They do not care about convenience. They care about coherence. And coherence can create reality. This is the disorienting shift. Physics ceases to be a reflection of the world. It becomes prescriptive. It tells the universe what is allowed, not what is. You are used to seeing discovery as empirical. You expect observation to precede existence. Here the sequence is reversed. Existence is permitted by the equation, then confirmed or ignored by observation. You cannot choose only the parts you understand. You cannot select only the solutions that fit intuition. Consistency does not negotiate with familiarity. Some solutions will seem absurd. Some will appear unnecessary, yet they are as unavoidable as the laws themselves. The universe is no longer a passive backdrop. It is a space of possibilities, defined not by what is present, but by what the structure cannot reject. This is the unsettling implication. The world you observe may exist because the laws allowed it, not because it was inevitable, and the parts you have not observed may exist for the same reason. Mathematics, once thought to describe, now legislates. It decides what can be, and by omission what cannot. Reality becomes law-led rather than observation-led. You trusted equations to be mirrors. They are more than mirrors. They are arbiters. They decide the architecture of existence, whether you know it or not. Consistency is absolute. Observation is optional. And that inversion quietly destabilizes your most basic assumptions about reality. You assume imbalance is natural. That asymmetry requires no explanation. That the universe need not justify the predominance of one form over another. You see more matter than its opposite, and accept it as ordinary. A fact, not a puzzle. A feature, not a question. This is a misreading of structure. Symmetry, once admitted, does not remain passive. It is not a suggestion. It is a requirement. It demands completion. The equation that describes particles does not stop at familiar matter. It produces counterparts, equal in every measurable way, opposite in ways your intuition cannot comfortably grasp. You are tempted to discard these solutions, to call them formal artifacts, to believe they are irrelevant because you have not observed them. But symmetry does not negotiate with preference. It does not tolerate selective existence. It will not compromise with your limited perception. Every mirrored solution is as valid as the original, as necessary, as unavoidable. You believe reality is free, that the universe can choose its sides, that some structures can exist and others vanish without consequence. But once symmetry is acknowledged, freedom is constrained. Each allowed state generates another, like a shadow that must follow its form. Removal is not a simplification, it is a violation. The consequence is subtle and insidious. Reality no longer feels pliable. It begins to feel dictated by necessity, not convenience. You imagine the universe as a place where asymmetry is expected, where what is missing is simply absent, where what dominates is unsurprising. You are wrong. The imbalance you observe is not self-explanatory, it is provisional. It is the surface manifestation of a deeper symmetry that insists on its own counterparts. The mirror objects exist in the equations whether or not you recognize them. Their absence in observation does not negate their necessity in principle. Your confidence in what is visible begins to falter. You realize that reality is not only what it presents, it is also what it cannot omit. Symmetry transforms existence from a free landscape into a constrained architecture. Each law that respects symmetry limits what is possible. It allows nothing partial. It permits no selective neglect. And the deeper you examine, the more unsettling it becomes. What you take for singularity is a fragment. What you call completeness is an incomplete understanding. Every observed particle is paired by law with its counterpart, a reflection you cannot yet detect, a presence you cannot deny, even if you cannot see it. The universe is no longer just what you witness. It is a network of obligations, a structure of mirrored necessity. And your intuition, which assumes freedom and privilege, begins to fail. You assume the universe favors what endures, that what you see is central because it exists, that matter has priority simply because you occupy it. This is false. The laws of physics do not recognize familiarity. They do not reward longevity. They do not elevate survival into significance. They do not notice which forms dominate your perception. You interpret abundance as preference, presence as privilege. But the structure behind reality is indifferent. Matter exists in your experience. Its counterpart may exist elsewhere or in forms you cannot yet detect. Neither is privileged, neither is favored. You imagine the universe as biased, selective, partial. You assume that what is observed has been chosen by some principle of dominance. You believe the existence of matter explains itself. It does not. Existence is not earned. It is permitted. The laws allow it. They do not select it. You expect the universe to reflect your own priorities, to align with what you find comfortable, to favor stability, to reward the familiar. It does none of these. What survives is not evidence of loyalty. It is simply the outcome of constraints. And constraints are impartial. If matter exists in your experience, it is because it is allowed. If antimatter is rare or hidden, it is not because it is disfavored. It is simply a consequence of the permitted structure. The universe does not contain hierarchies of existence. It contains conditions that permit or forbid. Nothing more. You are forced to confront the absence of preference, not only in observation, but in principle. Nothing in the structure of reality prioritizes your location, your history, your side of the mirror. This is destabilizing. You inhabit one portion of what is allowed and assume it is central. You mistake interaction for significance. But significance is a human lens. The laws are indifferent. The universe does not value what survives. It only permits it. Every element, every particle, every state of being is treated the same by the equations. Existence is not a reward, Non-existence is not a punishment. You feel dominance. You see matter outnumber its opposite. You interpret this as preferential. But it is a misreading. What is observed is not favored, it is allowed, and the laws care nothing for your comfort. At the edge of this understanding, intuition falters. The universe you perceive as privileged is nothing more than a permitted realization. The laws make no exceptions. They offer no loyalty. They grant no inheritance. You are left in a reality where familiarity is meaningless, where dominance is provisional, where existence is neither granted nor chosen. You expect balance to enforce itself. Opposites should meet. They should annihilate. They should leave nothing behind. This expectation feels reasonable. It is human. It is intuitive. It is wrong. If matter and its counterpart are allowed equally, you imagine a perfect cancellation, a zero-sum resolution, a clean, comprehensible outcome. But nothing in the laws requires this. Nothing demands that symmetry in principle produces symmetry in result. Absence of balance is not an error. It is an outcome fully compatible with the structure of reality. You assume the universe began fair, and then failed to finish its own work. This is a reversal of causality. The failure is not in the universe. It is in your expectation of completion. The laws do not act to resolve tension. They constrain what can exist. But they do not arbitrate outcomes according to aesthetic or intuitive notions of fairness. Matter dominates, not because it was chosen, not because the laws favor it, not because symmetry failed. It dominates because the equations permit it, and nothing requires them to enforce cancellation. You are forced to recognize that outcomes are not guaranteed, that survival is not evidence of selection, that asymmetry can persist indefinitely without contradiction to fundamental law. The residue of imbalance becomes a structural feature. It is not a flaw. It is not provisional. It is a necessary consequence of what the equations allow. You might hope that perfect cancellation is implied by logic. You might expect the universe to obey your instincts. It does not. The asymmetry you see is not a matter of probability. It is a matter of inevitability within constraints. Some permitted states simply appear more often in the form you observe. Others do not, and their scarcity does not indicate suppression. It is merely how the structure resolves itself under rules that do not favor outcome. You realize that the universe does not self-correct. It does not reconcile opposites. It does not pursue balance. It permits what is possible and leaves the rest unresolved. This is profoundly unsettling. Your intuition expects resolution. Your mind craves closure. The laws provide neither. You occupy the remnants of symmetry and call it reality. But the reality you inhabit is not mandated. It is permitted. It is partial. It does not reflect the totality of what could exist. You are left with structural tension. Imbalance is not accidental. It is lawful. It is necessary. And it refuses to reconcile itself quietly, inevitably, across the entire universe. You want physics to provide closure, to answer, to resolve, to explain the universe as if it were a problem with a final solution. This is a misapprehension. The laws do not move toward conclusion. They move toward constraint. They ask not what must exist, but what cannot. Everything else is permitted. You expect necessity, inevitability, determinism. You hope that observation, logic, and law together will deliver completeness. They do not. Reality is not a final answer. It is a space of possibilities. Each law defines limits, but it does not dictate selection. It forbids. It allows. nothing more. The universe you inhabit exists not because it must, not because it is inevitable, not because it is singular. It exists because it has not been forbidden. Your confidence in what is real is provisional. Each particle, each region, each event exists because it is permitted within the structure of law. Its absence would be equally lawful. You imagine the universe as self-contained, singular, comprehensive, closed. It is none of these. There is a mirror possibility you have not observed, a counterpart universe, an anti-universe, demanded by symmetry and consistency. It is neither fantasy nor error. It is allowed. It is real in principle, whether or not your instruments detect it. You perceive absence and call it void. You perceive dominance and call it selection. You perceive imbalance and call it failure. These are human interpretations imposed on structure. The laws themselves remain silent. They do not resolve the question, they only expose it. Existence becomes not a statement, but a question, not a guarantee, but a permission. The universe is not a solution, it is an unresolved possibility. You begin to see that what you experience is provisional. It is one realization among many lawful alternatives. You occupy one permitted region of a far larger landscape, where other realities, equally valid, equally necessary, may exist. There is no authority, no arbitration, no hierarchy. Nothing in the structure favors the familiar or punishes the unseen. Nothing insists that your universe be unique. The anti-universe is not a prediction. It is a consequence of strict consistency, a reminder that laws do not yield to intuition. They only constrain and permit. This perspective does not resolve discomfort. It does not simplify. It does not provide comfort or closure. It only imposes clarity. And in that clarity, awe emerges. Not triumph, not certainty, not mastery. Awe at the quiet magnitude of what is allowed, at the profound indifference of structure, at the realization that reality itself is not chosen, but permitted. You are left with a universe that is partial, contingent, lawful, and infinitely more mysterious than observation alone could reveal. Every certainty you held is provisional. Every familiar rule is just one realization among countless lawful alternatives. The world is not what it must be. It is what it has not been forbidden to be. And that subtle inversion, existence as permission rather than necessity, is the quiet, unsettling, inescapable truth. The universe you know is not the universe that must exist. It is a permitted version. And the laws that shape it remain patient, impartial, and indifferent to your expectations. Here, at the edge of comprehension, you do not understand fully. You cannot. You are confronted with the vast, unclosed question of reality itself, and in that confrontation, a deeper clarity arises. The universe is not singular. It is not complete. It is not obliged. It simply exists. And it allows.